Okay, Chapter 9 Review, Part 2. We're going to continue with graphing. Let's go ahead and graph the following function. Y is equal to 1 over 4x squared. Alright, so we're just going to go ahead and set up an xy table. And we're going to choose values that are going to make it easy to graph. Alright, so just keep in mind that we are squaring the x here. So whatever value you choose for x, just make sure you square it. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start with, let's just go with 1. 1 squared is 1, 4 times 1 is 4, therefore when x is 1, y is 1/4. Alright, let's go ahead and do 2. 2 squared is 4, 4 times 4 is 16, so y is going to be 1/16. Alright, let's just go ahead and see what happens if you choose a negative value, such as -1. Well, -1 squared is just 1. 1 times 4 is 4, so you're going to get the same answer as if you were to choose positive 1. Okay, so when x is -1, y is 1/4. And if I chose 2, -2 rather, then you know that y is going to be 1/16. Okay, so let's see what happens when I go to graph those points. You're going to graph 1 and 1/4, just approximate where it's at. You're going to graph 2 and 1/16. 2 and 1/16. 1/16 is less than 1/4, so we're going to come below that. Alright, and then we're going to graph 1, -1 and 1/4. And let's do 2, -2 and 1/16. Alright, we can't choose 0 because we can't have 0 in a denominator. Alright, so we can continue to choose any positive and negative numbers we want, and what you're going to notice is that those values are never going to go below 0. So what you're going to end up getting is a graph that's shaped like a bell. Okay, you only need about 4 points. And you'll have one example just like that on your test. Next example, we're going to graph again. This time let's graph the function y is equal to x squared minus 2. The easiest way again to find your points is just to make an xy table. Alright, I'm going to plug in 0. I know anything 0 squared is going to give you 0. 0 minus 2 is -2. So I can plot 0, -2. Next value I'm going to choose is 1. 1 squared is 1. 1 minus 2 is -1. So now I'm going to plot 1, -1. Next, 2. 2 squared is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. So I'm going to plot 2, 2. So if we go back and we look at our function, we can see that it is a quadratic equation. So I should be getting some sort of parabola, hopefully going in the upwards direction because my a value is positive. And it looks like my axis of symmetry is going to go right down the y-axis. So I can just go ahead and go out equal distance from the axis of symmetry. Or we can go ahead and just find values on the left side of our graph. So let's go ahead and choose -1. Alright, so -1 squared is 1, and 1 minus 2 is going to again give you -1. So we can plot -1, next two concepts we're going to look at is multiplying and dividing rational expressions. We started working on this last week in class. Alright, so we're going to do example 1 on page 554. Example 1 says that our expression is x squared minus 4x minus 12. We are going to divide that by x squared minus 4. Alright, what we want to do is simplify this expression, so it looks like we are going to have to factor the numerator and the denominator. So if I factor my numerator, what you end up with is x plus 2 times x minus 6. Positive 2, negative 6 gives me the negative 12, and when I add them I get the negative 4 that I need. Alright, and then x squared minus 4, if we factor that out, we get x plus 2 and x minus 2. Since I have operations of multiplication in between my factors, I can go ahead and cancel out any common factors. What I'm left with is going to be your final answer of x minus 6 over x minus 2. Okay, next let's look at example 3 on page 555. We're going to multiply two rational expressions this time, so let's do 4x minus 4x squared over x squared plus 2x minus 3. Multiply that to x squared plus x minus 6. And we're going to place that over 4x. So let's go back to our first factor. What we need to do is to go ahead and first factor out the rational expression. If we look at it, I know I can pull a 4 out. And I know I can pull an x out because we have an x in both terms. Okay, now go back and divide. 4 divided by 4 is 1. X divided by x is 1, so we're going to place a 1 inside. Negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1. And x squared divided by x is x. Okay, so your numerator is now factored. Factor out the denominator. If we factor that out correctly, we will get x minus 1, x plus 3. Negative 1, positive 3, multiplied gives you negative 3, add them, you get positive 2. Alright, second fraction, numerator, factor out x squared plus x minus 6. If we do that correctly, we will get x plus 3 and x minus 2 as my factors. Multiply, negative 2, positive 3, negative 6, add them, you get the positive 1. And 4x is just going to stay as is, there's no factoring to be done. Alright, so what we need to do is go ahead and start canceling out any common denominators that we can. Right away I notice I have a 1 minus x and I have an x minus 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix this here so I can make it, so I can cancel it. And we're going to change this to read negative 1 times x minus 1. This is going to allow me to do some canceling now. I haven't changed the value. All we did is change the way it looks. Alright, so I can cancel out 4x here and 4x in the denominator of my second fraction. I can cancel out x minus 1 and x minus 1. I can also cancel out x plus 3 and x plus 3. So what it looks like that I'm left with is negative 1, because we have negative 1 right here, don't forget about it. And on the right, my factor of x DPW chapter review, look for part 3.